How goes it, family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. It's Saturday, another beautiful day in the way to be alive, so it's all good in the neighborhood. All right, so today's rant is about what I've been seeing for the last 2 years now. I didn't think I'd ever have to speak on it, but hey, why not? I think it intensified during the pandemic, and that's Black Twitter, and that is Black YouTube. People love to take shots at each other constantly, and it's kind of like I was my rant yesterday. Um, I know why people do it because it's the easiest way it's the best clickbait one can get on social media on any level, especially if it's Instagram, if it's YouTube, if it's Facebook, if it's Twitter and whatnot. You put out a certain comment, you put out a hashtag, and hey, the algorithm works its magic, boom, 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 and the next thing you know, a bunch of people are watching you, and then of course the person that you're insulting, uh, back and forth, that's going to give you more feedback because people love to see adults arguing with each other like children over things that there's not going to be any specific um, outcome after their argument, except somebody's just going to feel bigger than they were before the argument or during the argument or whatever have you. So, or as I like to call it, just translates into being a waste of time. And I'm starting to notice this a lot on Black Twitter and on Black YouTube a lot more and more because it gets to clickbait and things of that nature. You put out the crazy title, you say XYZ was stupid or XYZ did such and such, and then boom, everybody and their mother's watching. Now, my whole rant at this point is basically this. Um, it goes old saying, as the older generation would say, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And that goes in the same situation with anyone in any specific aspect, especially if you're in business. If you're always constantly taking people off, no one's going to want to do business with you. If you're always constantly taking people off, no one's really going to want to be your customer like that. Now, even in cancel culture, it's like, they're not, most of the time people are just saying because they're living in their beliefs and they're living in their convictions. And that's what it is. But at the end of the day, it's one thing living in your beliefs, living in your convictions, and then you're actually putting out a product that the customer wants or the customer needs. It's another thing to just be on social media for the sake of being on social media and ranting about people just so that you can get more clickbait. I think most of the adults in the room, as I like to say, can understand that that's what it is. And then most of the adults in the room, if they're watching it, it's because they want to be entertained. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's just the best way to get the best clickbait is to talk about obviously what's trending and talk about somebody that you most likely 9 times out of 10 never met and never will meet, but that'll get you more clickbait because you're talking about the individual. But I got to put my 2 cents in on this because the days we're living in now and that we're going towards in the next, I'm saying by within the next 10 years, 2031, okay, since we're going into, or heck, 2032, especially in the African American community, the ones who are about partnerships and doing business together, I'm all for it. The ones that are not constantly arguing, bickering back and forth, I'm not with it. So I definitely want to give kudos and shout outs to Jay Morrison. Kudos and shout outs to Dr. Boyce Watkins because they're trying to build bridges instead of burn them because it's easier to burn bridges than it is to build them or even maintain the bridges and things of that nature. I mean, heck, you drive around the U.S. and look at the infrastructure, certain built bridges and whatnot, they need to be rebuilt, they need maintenance to them, et cetera, and so forth, regardless of the situation. But the United States of America, regardless of what happens, is going to be united because of one thing: people have economic interest in common. And even when states and cities are competing against one another, it's not at the detriment of that state or city because it's like, hey, you could do, you as a state or the city, what incentives are you giving to get people to want to live there? What incentives are you giving for corporations to move there? Great example. Hey, I'm a big fan of California, but Texas has been kicking California in the butt, I think, for the last 10 years economically because they basically made more, they are income tax free state, so working people, it makes it easier for them to live there because they're not getting taxed as much as they were in other income tax states. Another thing is, the administrations that have been there, they're like, hey, corporate America, we'll give you tax breaks on all levels. You don't have to pay any taxes if you come to our state and whatnot. So that's another incentive. So a state like California that has the highest income tax states and taxes when it comes to businesses and things of that nature. A lot of corporations like bye-bye adios, like Tesla is finally I thought it already made its official move to Austin, Texas, but they're leaving Northern California, they're going to Austin, Texas. So a lot of corporations have done that and will continue to do that because of the beautiful thing called incentives. Now, but with this being said, like I said, whatever side you're on that, I don't care. All I'm saying is, whatever, at the end of the day, just you're not going to see the California Highway Patrol, State Highway Patrol, going to war with Texas Rangers and whatnot. You know, they're not going to be shooting each other up, and you know, to be a bloody, uh, a big bloodbath or whatnot because one state economically is doing better than the other, and one state is taking a lot of the economic opportunities away from the other. It's like, well, hey, other state, get yourself in gear, and then maybe more people will be incentivized to move there, and more companies will be incentivized to stay there or come there again. You know, that's just what it is. But there's no war happening. Same thing goes when it used to be called the League of Nations. Now it's basically called the United Nations and things of that nature, where countries are coming and they're voting on specific subject matters that deal with world issues, that deal with the country's issues, deal with national, international business issues and things of that nature. People are coming together, whether people like it or not, whether people agree with it or not. They're coming together because they want to be able to be stable. Because of, there was a time in the world, they called it World War One, World War Two, when the world was at war, and as a planet, you can't really get things done if you're always at war with each other. If you're always dropping bombs on each other, if your army always has to invade a country, and your military always has to invade a country, and things of that nature. So that's just something to take into consideration. So I say this to the folks on Black Twitter and Black YouTube: you're not going to be able to get too much done unless you're just in the business of arguing with people for the sake of arguing people, as I call it, intellectual masturbation. Then that's fine. But you're not going to be able to continue to get things done in a specific fashion if you're always picking conflict with somebody and always picking a fight with somebody because you know it's going to get you more clickbait. Like I said, for the adults in the room, I just find that to be a complete waste of time, and I'm not really going to waste time arguing with people unless there's money involved. That's just my motto, and I'm sticking to it. So if they're like, no, I should have got X amount of dollars, but you gave me this amount of dollars, that's an argument I'm willing to have, or no, I'm going to charge you this amount of money because I'm providing this service. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's a fair price. Let's talk about this. Then that's haggling, and sometimes people will be like, take it or leave it. Okay, great, fine. That's something to get an argument over. That's something to get upset over. But the fact that somebody said something about you online, who cares? I kind of, to me, it just, at the end of the day, it just goes back to schoolyard stuff. It's like, yeah, Cindy said something about me. Timmy told on me. Who cares, man? Like, we're adults, man. It's just like I don't have time for all that. It's just like I said, I like to call it these rants now. I'm talking to the adults in the room. That's like, look, you got a family to worry about. You got bills to pay. You got employees to pay. You have a business to run. You have responsibilities. So if you're finding time in your day to constantly pick fights with people online, I gotta worry about your credibility if that's what your business is all about. But that's what you love getting your rocks off on, is always picking fights with people and always being angry and irate for no reason, because you can't get things done. It's a very unproductive way to be in life. So that's my 2 cents in regards to the folks on there. I know that's how they get their cash apps, and that's how they get their views and things of that nature. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. I know things need to be a little entertaining every now and then and all that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, America, most of the world, I'm not even going to say America, most of the world would not be where it's at now if they did not form the League of Nations, if they did not form the United Nations. Most corporations would not even be where they're at today if they did not work with each other and partner with each other. One of the best examples is Apple and Microsoft when when Steve Jobs was alive, and he was the head of Apple, Bill Gates, Microsoft, and they worked in conjunction with one another in order for them to create certain products and things of that nature. Same thing where you see, well, great example, Facebook bought out Instagram or whatnot, and collaboration over competition. Sometimes they bought out you got WhatsApp and whatnot, things of that nature, collaboration. So I've always, in my life, my personal opinion, life has always been much better when there's more collaboration happening and not so much competition all the time. Especially within my circle. If me and my circle are always fighting, then why are we even in the circle? It's like that's an issue in my personal opinion. So that's my 2 cents in that regards. Let's get it together. Let's be more adults, and let's show the world that we can act like adults and not always just argue over petty stuff, So to the ones that don't do all that nonsense, like I said, I've mentioned names before. More power to you. Keep up the great work, because we need the people, we need the adults in the room that's not only putting out good content and yet entertaining, but we need having the access to that information is just like having access to capital and whatnot. When people put that money, put that time and energy into it, it's a beautiful thing. All right. So do the great 3 free things, family. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day, and as I always say, make money moves, or you're gonna live broke like a fool. Take care, family.